Welcome to Steady Growth, where we build money, character, and resilience the same way. Small, steady, and on purpose. No hype, just honest steps that add up. Let's begin. Watch this hand. It's your toddler's, and it's drifting slowly, theatrically slowly, toward the dog's tail, or the outlet cover, or the one shelf you said never. And here's the tell that gives the whole game away. They are not looking at the tail. They're looking at you. Eyes locked on your face, hand creeping, the whole thing unfolding at 1 frame per second, practically narrated out loud. I am now approaching the forbidden object. And something in your chest catches fire, because this feels like pure defiance. They know the rule. They're staring you down while they break it. It feels personal, premeditated, almost smug. So let me hand you the reframe that might save you 1,000 fights over the next 10 years. That stare is not a challenge. It's data collection. Your child isn't defying the rule. They're testing it the way a scientist tests anything. Poke it, watch what happens, write it down. The hand on the tail is the experiment. Your face is the readout. And the question they're investigating is, from where they're standing, the biggest question in the world, which of the things the big people say are real and which are just sounds? Tonight, why boundary testing is science, not defiance, and why grading the experiment the same way every time is the whole job. Step into the lab coat for a second. Picture it building on the page. First, the footy pajamas, then a lab coat 3 sizes too big, then a clipboard. And on that clipboard, watch the words appear. Hypothesis. No means no. Trials. 47. Results. Mixed. That little scientist lands in a world absolutely covered in invisible rules, some physical, some social, some completely arbitrary, with no manual and no way to tell which is which. Gravity? Turns out, extremely real. Tested it off the couch. Conclusive. The stove? Aggressively real. But don't touch the remote? We don't yell inside? Bedtime is bedtime? Those rules can't be seen or felt. There's exactly one way to find out if they're load-bearing. Push on them and watch what the structure does. That's not malice. It's the scientific method run by someone who can't say the word method. And the developmental research is clear. Testing limits is normal, a feature of healthy growth, surging in toddlerhood, then coming back with sharper instruments in the teenage years. Now, here's the part that should actually soften your chest in the moment. A child who tests your boundaries is doing something hopeful. They're checking whether the walls of their world are solid, because solid walls are what safety feels like. Kids don't test rules to tear the house down. They test the house to make sure it'll hold them. Which means your job in the tail-reaching moment was never to win a battle. It's to be a good laboratory, one that returns the same result every single time. And watch what that does. Picture 2 charts drawing themselves side by side. On the left, same input, same output. A clean, flat line and a stamp that reads, Study closed, 12 trials. On the right, same input, random output. A chaotic scatter of dots and a note that just keeps climbing. 400 trials and counting. That gap is the whole secret of this episode. Because what ends an experiment? A consistent result. If the hand reaches for the tail and the same calm consequence shows up every time, same words, same follow-through, same unremarkable tone, the data lines up fast. Rule confirmed. Real. Filed. A dozen trials maybe, and the little scientist moves on to mapping something else. But watch what happens when the results come back mixed. Tuesday, the tail grab gets a firm consequence. Wednesday, a tired laugh. Thursday, it gets ignored because you're on a call. Friday, a big dramatic reaction, which to a small scientist is fascinating. Now the data is scattered, and no honest researcher closes a study with scattered data. They run more trials. Many, many more. So here's the sentence to write on your heart. Inconsistency doesn't soften a boundary, it extends the experiment. The testing you're drowning in isn't proof your child is strong-willed or that you're failing. It's proof the lab keeps returning different answers, so the science has to go on. And the most expensive version is the worn-down yes, holding the line through 4 asks and folding on the 5th, because that teaches the single most durable finding of all: the rule is real until trial 5. Their persistence isn't a character flaw, it's the correct conclusion from the data you handed them. Now let me take you to the place where this experiment runs hottest: the checkout aisle. That candy rack at kid eye level is not an accident. The store set up the experiment for you. The ask comes, "Can I have it?" The no comes, and then the replication study begins. The second ask, the whine, the escalation, the full meltdown with an audience of strangers. Every stage of it a fresh trial of one precise hypothesis. Is no at the register a real boundary or just an opening bid? And here's where a famous piece of psychology walks in. When a behavior gets rewarded every single time, it's stable but fragile. Stop rewarding it and it fades fast. But when a behavior gets rewarded sometimes, unpredictably, like a slot machine, it becomes the most stubborn behavior on Earth. That's the exact mechanism casinos are built on. So the parent who caves once every 5 or 6 trips isn't teaching usually no. They're running a slot machine that pays out in candy, turning their kid with textbook precision into a tiny, determined gambler who has learned the machine hits if you pull enough times, loudly enough. And here's the quiet money piece in this one. Those caves carry a literal price. The impulse grabs, the negotiated toys, the piece you buy at the register week after week, plus a deeper invoice that comes due years later. Because a child who learns that persistence plus meltdown moves money has just learned a negotiating style. The fix isn't fury, it's the boring magic from a minute ago. The same calm result every trial until the study closes itself. A no that means no, delivered kindly, surviving the storm, is the cheapest thing in that whole store. Before we land this, let me put 3 honest edges on it, because this is the part most reframes skip. First, consistent does not mean rigid. Rules can change. Kids grow, life shifts, and some rules turn out to be wrong. The skill is changing them on purpose, out loud, in a calm moment. You're older now, so the new rule is, instead of letting them erode one cave at a time. A revised boundary is parenting. A leaking one is contaminated data. Second, not every hard moment is an experiment. The kid coming apart at the register at 5:45 might not be testing anything. They might be exhausted, starving, completely out of capacity. Telling those two apart is half the craft. And the short version is this: science gets steady grading, but a depleted child needs support first. You can't run trials on an empty subject, and a consequence for what was really a meltdown of exhaustion teaches nothing but distance. Third, 2 parents, 1 lab. If no from one of you reliably becomes fine from the other, the experiment never closes. It just learns to route around the firmer instrument. So the minimum: compare notes, back each other in the moment, renegotiate in private. The scientist is always watching the whole lab. So here's the whole thing to carry into the next slow-motion reach. That stare locked on your face was never a declaration of war. It was a clipboard. Your child is mapping their world the only way a child can, by pushing on it and recording what pushes back. Take it personally, and you'll spend a decade fighting a scientist who was never fighting you. Grade it consistently. Same calm result, every trial, kindly delivered, meltdown-proof. And watch the studies close one by one. The testing shrinks, and something lovelier moves in. A child who relaxes inside walls they have personally checked and found solid. Hold the register line and retire the slot machine. Change rules on purpose, never by erosion. Check the state before you grade the science. And on the hard days, when trial 400 of the bedtime study is running and your patience is a rumor, come back to this and let it do its quiet work. This small person isn't testing you because they doubt your love. They're testing the world because they're deciding whether to trust it. So be the lab that always returns the same answer. It's science, not defiance. And you, steady and kind and beautifully, boringly consistent, are the best result they will ever replicate. If something here was useful today, the best thing you can do is use it tonight in one small way. And if you'd like to keep growing with us, you're welcome in our tribe at familycreative.org. It's where we gather the tools and resources we build for people doing this on purpose, and where you can learn more, share what's working, and help someone a few steps behind you. That's the whole point. Small, steady, together. Be kind, try hard, do the work, build the family. We'll see you in the next one.